Ben Knapper, nice to see you. Yeah, about 2 months I think now to get your feet under the table, which is not very long. You've been quietly beavering away, a very busy time. What are the sort of quick learnings from what your job is and what you need to do to get Norwich where you think it needs to be?
Yeah, look, 2 months. I think it feels a lot longer, to be honest. It's been intense, but really good as well. It's everything that I thought it was, and so much good work going on here. Obviously, a challenging circumstance, particularly when I first came in. A lot of conjecture and obviously some frustration with the way things were going. But I think since then there's been a lot of hard work done both on the training field and off it. And I think we've done a good job in really trying to stabilise and slowly start to build as well. And certainly there's a lot of positivity now, internally in terms of, where we are and optimism for what we can achieve for the rest of the season. So yeah, it's been intense, but really enjoyable.
When you say there's lots of optimism now, was there not for a period? I mean, it felt like there might have been outside of the building, but obviously you're coming into a building where there's huge change. Webber had been here for a very long time. Did you feel like some of that negativity had spread into the football side of things?
Look, I think it's natural, right? When you're on the run of results that we were at the time, of course that makes people have doubt. I think anyone who says that that's not the case is probably lying. So yeah, of course, there was a lot of frustration internally because everybody knew that there's a lot of quality here. There was frustration at the way that we've been performing, and I think that that's natural. But since then, like I said, we've done a really good job of addressing some of the issues that I think we had. Lots of hard work, lots of honest conversations, and I think ultimately the results of that have been that we have managed to solve some of those issues, stabilise and start to get on much more of a solid footing. And I think now, in recent performances, I think that you can start to see more of what this team is about. And of course, the focus between now and the end of the season is to produce that on a more consistent basis. And I think that there's more to come from this group, for sure.
How much pressure do you feel you were under to make the biggest change, really? And that would have been to replace the head coach, David Wagner. There were huge cries for it coming from the stands. You were probably hearing some of that for the first time. You have a different perspective when you're away to when you're at Carrow Road and actually hearing it from the fans. And maybe that would have been the easy option. You're coming in to make a big statement, but you resisted that. How difficult was that to do?
Look, honestly, I think that these jobs, the role of a sporting director a lot of the time, I think is about trying to, stay calm, think logically, try not to, be influenced by conjecture or noise and try and look through that and make logical decisions that you think have got the club's best interests at heart. And that was always the way that I've worked in my career. And yeah, of course, I was aware of the noise. You can't not be, like you said. It was audible. I was in the stands and listening, and you see things in the media as well that's hard to get away from at times. But look, for me, it was always something that I was clear in my mind, and I felt like, the best way for me to make decisions is to take time, and that was always what I was going to do. And ultimately, I think that's consistent with the way that I've always worked through my career.
Do you believe that one of the reasons, and we've talked about injuries quite a lot, but excuse me, obviously the sort of frontline strike force was unavailable, and could you see light at the end of the tunnel for David Wagner, because some of the circumstances that were going on outside of his control?
Yeah, of course. Look, it's something that nobody wants to point to consistently. There was loads that the team needed to be doing better, and everybody was working hard to find solutions. But as well, when you are missing that volume of players and key players at that, of course it has an impact. And we knew that once those guys came back to full fitness and could reintegrate into the group, we knew that we would be stronger for it. So of course that wasn't the only reason. There was lots of things that were in our control that we needed to do better, and I think that since then we have. So I think it's always a blend, but absolutely there was no doubt in my mind that was, of course, an element of mitigation around that, even if it certainly didn't represent all of the reason why the team was struggling.
Well, things have certainly picked up on the pitch, and you say there's sort of newfound optimism but behind the scenes as well. You've only been here 2 months, and a month of that has been the January transfer window. How much input were you able to have in that? Because obviously in football you're quite often working ahead of schedule, and some plans might have been in place from the old regime, if you like. So what impact did you have on January?
Yeah, you're right. Typically, you'd work many months in advance, so it's never easy coming in sort of on the dawn of a window. But of course, I was able to influence and start to look at some things that I wanted to do with the team in terms of some strategic intentions as well. All of that's through the lens of knowing the challenges inherently with the January market. It's typically a window that I think is safe to say, is generally geared around instant impact or patching up holes or trying to stave off relegation or make a push to achieve targets. And of course, that's important for us, but I was really interested to see if there are opportunities for us to start to shape the group with the more medium to long term in mind. And I think we've started to do that with some of the business that we did that I think will help sort of prepare the ground for us. And of course, it's going to take multiple windows for us to shape this group in the way that I would like to, but I think that some of the work that we've done in January certainly paves the way for that.
The one sort of big one, if you like, that you did do up front, as far as Ida up to Celtic and Van Hooijdonk coming in, how sort of late was that brought to the table? Was that something you kind of been planning with Adam going out and getting some first team football, or did this all sort of land quite late?
Yeah, look, it was something that we've been discussing for a while. Adam, we know, is someone who's super talented, but as well, he was hungry to go and experience something different and to potentially test himself in a different context. And I think that's also a really valuable experience for a player to go through. He's never been on loan before. This is an environment that is pretty much the only one he's known, certainly since he's been a professional. And so that was always something that, we had in our mind. If there was the right opportunity for Adam that we think could give him a good experience and test him and help us learn more about him, then, that was always something that we were going to be open to. In Sydney, of course, there was a fantastic opportunity for us to do something on the way in. And I think Sydney is a really interesting player that we've followed for a long time. Again, he represents a lot of what we're trying to do with this group in terms of great age profile, somebody that has got some real pedigree, scored a lot of goals in Holland, has already got some other good experiences under his belt for someone who's just turned 24. We think he's got the potential to take another step. We think he profiles quite well or very well for this league, and he's someone that we're really excited to sort of work with over the coming months and potentially beyond as well. So we were really pleased with that, and we think that with both of those cases, there's real upside for us.
And you've mentioned the age profile before. We want to sort of know the sort of short to long term vision for the club. You only get 2 transfer windows a year anyway, and everyone says January is difficult. That does then automatically suggest that there is more emphasis on the summer. With your vision going forward for the club, do you expect it to be busy in the summer?
Yeah, look, of course, summer's naturally the window where you're more able to do more. There's more opportunity. The market's typically a little bit easier to navigate. Trying to find value is generally easier as well. So yes, look, it's something that we know that we've got players out of contract. There's going to be some turnover in the summer, and of course we want to continue with some of the strategic directions that I would like to take the group in. So absolutely, it's something that we're working hard on at the moment to build a plan. And then we'll be going into that with the goal of continuing some of the work that we've already started.
And just finally from me, and as far as the Premier League is concerned, that's where everyone wants to be. If Norwich were to get promoted to the Premier League this season, is the club ready? I mean, a lot of fans, while they're would love to be there, are concerned because of this sort of gulf between the Championship and the Premier League. If you were to get there, could you make the club ready in time?
Yeah, look, I think one of the big advantages of this club is that in so many respects it is Premier League ready. Like, you look at the infrastructure, you look at the way that we work, you look at the staff base, you look at the expertise that we have here and the processes and the way the club is working. It's Premier League ready in so many respects. We've got great quality in the group as well. I think that's undeniable, and so yeah, of course. I think that's something that we're trying our hardest to be in that position. We want to be in that position, and really test ourselves, and we're going to push every day between now and the end of the season to hopefully have that challenge. But yeah, absolutely.
Top man, thank you.
Ben, just a few follow-ups if I can. You said it yourself, there was conjecture when you came in. Clearly, also, I think we can all see that was probably around the head coach was one of those elements. Did you have to have a chat and chats at any point with David and sit down through this period, and whether it was to give him your support or maybe just sort of say things need to move in a more positive direction? Did those conversations take place?
Look, we speak all the time, every day. So there was always conversations happening around all sorts of aspects, whether it be squad planning or team performance. And as I said, from day one, when I walked through the door, the thing that struck me was, the rapport between the playing staff and the coaching staff, the level of work that was going on, the proactive approach to try and find solutions, the willingness to face up to some of the difficult realities as well of where we were struggling and things that were causing us issues on the field. So I think around that there was always conversations, but for me it was always clear that everybody was just focused on trying to find solutions. And I think we certainly don't feel like we're home and dry. That's absolutely not the case. But from where we were, I think there's a lot of good work that has been done. So I think that's testament really to those conversations and more importantly the actions off the back of them.
Just follow up on January, but recruitment more broadly. Interested to know, because we know there's been now over the last 2-3 years well-established structure put in place in the South American market. You've got scouts over there. A lot of focus has gone that way. Was that an area you looked at in January? And is it, now you've had 2 or so months to get your feet under the table, is that a key part of how you see the recruitment map moving forward to continue a focus in South America?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the club's done fantastic work in setting up a presence in the South American market. We've got people on the ground there, people that are very well connected and plugged into that network. It's an absolute hotbed of talent. Everybody knows that. So why wouldn't we? Of course, it's somewhere that is really interesting for us, and it's somewhere that the club has had success with previously, and it's somewhere that we'll continue to look. Of course, we're not one-dimensional. It's not that we're only focusing there, but it's absolutely a key market that I think we'd be foolish to say, okay, we're not interested in that anymore. There's great players out there. There's value to be had, and there's real opportunities. So absolutely, it's somewhere that we'll continue to focus on and build on a lot of the good work that's already taken place.
One aspect of what you did in January was obviously, for sure you let him go out of the building, Poeta as well, and you said earlier on there will be turnover inevitably this coming summer. Where are we with maybe that group of other senior players who are going to be out of contract in the summer? Is there any contract talks ongoing now? Are you managing that process?
Right now, no. Of course, now that the window's closed, we can really turn our attention to the summer and beyond, even looking ahead to the winter market next year, so that we're a couple of windows planning in advance. There aren't any contract talks at the moment. It's something that we'll look at over the coming weeks, so that everybody's got clarity as we move in towards that summer. But I think it was important. You referenced a couple of players that left in January, and I think that was really important as well. One of the things that I was keen to do going into this winter was to try and streamline the group a little bit. When I arrived, we had quite a few injuries. The medical team did a fantastic job in getting a lot of those players back, and then all of a sudden, we went to a place where the group actually looked quite heavy. We were naming squads with 3 or 4 players that weren't even in the matchday group, and that was something for me that I was keen to address in January for a couple of reasons, to make sure that we could be more efficient with our resource, but also I think that helps to open up pathways for young players as well. In the last few weeks, there's a greater presence of young players training every day, and I think that's a really positive step that, of course, we think can hopefully lay the foundation for that pathway to really be prevalent going forward and give opportunities to young players that we hope can take those opportunities and then take another step and obviously play in the team. So that was an important step as well. We talk as much about the incoming with Sydney, which of course is exciting, but I think some of that work is equally important as well.
And that's a really important point, and I was going to put to you, because it might have flew under the radar a little bit, but you also, Elliot Miles, a highly rated young player, very soon after he was eligible, turning 17, you got him on a pro deal in January. And maybe there is a perception, rightly or wrongly, outside of this bubble, that pathway has been slightly intermittent in the last season or two. Obviously, Johnny Rose, the big one who's gone through and is now an irregular. But in comparison, maybe to the Aarons, the Lewises, the Cantwell, Godfrey cohort, that quite turnover hasn't been the case. But your previous answer there is reiterating that it's an absolutely key pillar for you and what you're moving forward and what this club needs to be.
Absolutely. That's something that is central to our strategy. We're blessed here. We've got a fantastic academy that I think has got a demonstrable history of producing players, and that is something that we absolutely want to continue. Like you said, the emergence of Johnny Rowe has been fantastic, but there's other really talented young players, ones that we've secured now on long-term contracts. We've got young players that are developing out on loan, in a really promising way, and of course, for me, an absolute priority is to make sure that they get the opportunity, and of course they have to have the quality and they have to take that opportunity, but we want to be a club that continues to give young players a chance, like this club consistently has in the past.
Can I just give you, just throw one name at you specifically? Is there any update from the club side with Ken Abbo? We know his situation in terms of he potentially is one who's out of contract in the summer.
Yeah, so look, there's ongoing dialogue at the moment. Ken's someone that has obviously had a fantastic year. He's somebody that we're really pleased with. He's working hard every day. He's not allowing this situation to impact him in any way, which I think says a lot about his professionalism and his mentality. There's nothing to report yet, but there is dialogue that's open, and it's a situation that we're continuing to explore, and hopefully we can resolve soon.
Understood. Going back to the AGM, I think Mark Atanasio, he was quite open that they were waiting for you to present almost a football audit of how you see it, maybe your strategy or vision from inside the building. Have you been able to present that? Can you give us any indication, maybe some of the key fundamentals that you've told Mark, Delia, Michael, and the rest of the board?
Yeah, that's been done. Honestly, it's generally along the lines of a lot of the key themes that we've already discussed. Of course, there's more detail around how we want to execute that, but largely it's a lot of what we've spoken about: age profile, academy pathways, really getting back to being a player development, player trading organisation, and making sure that we're set up to do that. So a lot of it focuses around those core pillars, and I think that's really where everything that we do from now on, and I think what we've done in January and what we will do again in summer, I think you'll see is always going to be aligned with that.
Just a couple more if I can. On a personal level, has there been any, you said it's been challenging but also quite an intense period, but has there any been surprises, anything you, going into this environment, going into this role, maybe didn't expect from the first sort of 2-3 months?
I don't think so, to be fair. It was a club that I think I knew pretty well before. Look, I've worked with some of the best, head coaches and sporting directors in the game, and so I think I've had good experience of understanding what this role is like, would be like, and so I don't think I've been particularly surprised by any of that. Of course, it's always a little bit different when you're in it versus when you're imagining yourself being in it. But generally, it's for all of the intensity and the challenge, it's been super enjoyable as well. And I'm so happy that I made the step. It's absolutely what I hoped it was, and I'm excited for what we can achieve here, because there's so much potential. So much potential. I think I was sat in the stands, of course, at the weekend against Coventry, and for me that was fantastic experience, because it was a marked difference for me in the atmosphere and the energy in the ground, and I was just sat there and I was just thinking it's so exciting, the journey that we can go on, because I think that was the best that I've seen it since I've been here, and I think there's levels that we can go to way beyond that, and I know that it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility here to deliver a club and a team that captivate the fans and that energise the fans, and I think we'll do that, and it's exciting where we can take it, because like I said, that was the first game where I really thought, that there's so much that we can do here, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, that's my final question, actually. You've not seen my questions, have you? Because you seem to know what I'm asking here. But it was noticeable, wasn't it? Full-time whistle, the amount of people who stayed behind, the reactions to David, his coaching staff, the players as he went round the pitch. What would be the message now to those fans as we go into what could be a very exciting end to the season?
Sure, look, firstly, it'd just be a big thanks. I know that there's been really challenging moments, frustrating moments, and rest assured, nobody's felt those more than us internally. So it would just be thank you to the fans for sticking with us. And just a message of, come on, let's really stick together now and get behind everything. I think the window closing helps to really streamline everyone's attention. We're crystal clear on what we're trying to achieve. We're within touching distance. There's a real optimism, and let's just attack it with everything we've got together and enjoy the ride. There's 16 games left. It's more than a third of a championship season, and let's go full throttle and see what we can do.
Nice, wish you well. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.